Hey QE Decoders, this is Michael. This is the Jinaga Stand-Up, where we talk about the progress that we're making toward the first immutable runtime. And joining us soon will be Jan. I've got a lot of exciting things to share with him. He's my collaborator, and he is building an application for his business. He's already built the application. He's been running his business for a while, but he wants to see what he can do with immutable architecture and historical modeling. And so we are trying to get Jinaga set up so that he can transition his application over to this runtime. So along the way, that's making for a really good test case. And here's Jan. Good afternoon, sir.
How do you do?
Doing very well indeed. It is Thanksgiving here in the States, so I decided, I'll still have the stream even though it's a holiday.
Okay.
And then when I'm done here, then I run downstairs and I get the turkey in the oven.
Okay. That's a tradition at your place.
Yes, and we have
Okay.
all of our family coming over, so it's going to be a full house.
Mm.
We're going to do a turkey in the oven, and we're also going to do a ham on the smoker. So
Okay.
I'll be getting that started a little bit later. But the ham's already fully cooked, so I just need to get some applewood smoke around it and make it taste really good.
And you are responsible for the source code and for the ham.
Yes, exactly. and picking up heavy things, and that's about it.
Okay. And you will be doing the testing as well.
Oh yes. Well, I'm hoping that that you can take on some of the testing today because I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Yes.
That's great. No, Thanksgiving is not something we celebrate here. So it's even not a holiday today.
Yeah.
But we already have more than enough holidays, I think.
Yeah, but every day could be a holiday.
Mm.
Actually, I think officially every day is a holiday. It's just, which ones do you observe?
Yeah. The holidays are the days where customers don't call you, where you can just work on the things without being disturbed.
Nice.
Yeah.
But since it's not a holiday, customers are still calling you.
Well, yes. The first one was waking me up early morning
Oh my.
to ask whether I would be in today.
Oh.
Because he wanted to call me back later on. I say, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Well, you could just call me back later and find out then, instead of waking me up.
He was going to drive to a customer far away.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he wanted me to help him when he was at the customer site. So he had to leave very early.
Ah, yes.
As I'm working from home, I'm not waking up so early.
Yeah.
Good. I was looking into that logging for the SQLite.
Yes.
Didn't get very far yet. But so since the last time I really implemented some logging, that was in VB6. That was a system that I developed myself, so that logging was added and error logging during compilation. But so I looked a little bit into what is available now. Then I came into the Microsoft extension logging and systems that were based upon that. nlog, log4net, which is an older one. Serilog, I think, if I got it right. But so what do we want to do in the framework? Are we going to use something official, or do I just inject a custom class which is based on nothing and it's just going to write a string to a file or to a console?
Yeah. We want to use the Microsoft's built-in .NET logging framework, since we are creating something that other people will take a dependency on. We don't want to choose nlog or CR-log for them. And so I think the way to do that is to inject a logger factory. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I haven't set that up through the rest of the application or the library, but I think that's what I want to do is in the Jinaga client factory. When you call Jinaga client.create, there you can pass some options. Lambda set the options, and so I think that's where I want to set options.logger factory, so that they can choose their own implementation at that point. But then we have just a the logger factory interface, and then we can use that to create loggers for the different classes.
Okay. Because every class, if I understand well, has its own logger then?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so it is a generic interface so that it can use the class in order to determine the detail of logging. So you can configure it at the namespace level or at the class level to say just log warnings or log information or whatever.
Okay. And so then they can, for example, a customer who uses, or a user of the library who uses log4net, was it? Net log4net, yes? Net for log?
Log4net. There's log4net. There's
Let's say
nlog.
nlog.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
nlog's
easier.
easier to say. Yeah.
Yeah. They can just continue to use nlog while using while we use the APIs of the underlying Microsoft implementation.
Yes.
Okay.
nlog provides an implementation of those interfaces, and so we just consume those interfaces, and we'll be using whatever they've configured.
Okay. Then I will do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, and in fact, in the so one surprise, which this is what I said that I would have ready for this week, is I've got the iOS application working, and one of the things that I did within that iOS application is I brought in a library that displays a log. So you shake the phone, and then it pops up the log. So I have that integrated at the application level. So the next step is then to have the application give its log factory to Jinaga and have Jinaga do all the logging that it needs to do.
Wait, so the iOS application has its own logging built in?
I found a library that gives you a view to a logger, and so it's got an in-memory logger, and then it also supports shake the phone in order to bring up that view.
Okay, so if anything goes wrong, you can just bring up a view which gives you all the log messages.
Yep.
But at the same time, we could, for example, say, okay, send these log messages to a file.
Yes.
Or even send them to a central server.
Yep, indeed. And so, if somebody subscribes to a service that collects all of their application logs, so like Raygun, for example, then they can hook up Raygun to their logger, inject that, and then we'll log into the Raygun client, which will then send it to the Raygun server.
And so that viewer, that's a specific log provider that takes care of that?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I can show you how that is set up.
And that one is compatible with the Microsoft logging extension?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. And this Microsoft logging extension is fully compatible with Xamarin?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. That was basically the whole Xamarin thing or the whole Maui thing was let's take Xamarin, which was running on a different framework and made some different decisions. Let's bring that under the .NET umbrella. So yeah, it's in Maui fully integrated with
Okay.
logging and IOC and everything.
Mm-hmm. Because then, dependent on the logging level that we choose, I could even send all the queries that we execute to a logging file, not just the number of queries or whatever we want.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I can start with that. I'll save the big surprise till later. So
Wondering what the big surprise is.
All right. So sharing. Here is Blog Maui. So let's start with here is the Maui program, and this is where we set up all of the inversion of control inside of a Maui application. So right here, I added these lines. So take the that builder, that logging, and then you've got a few extension methods. So we can add the in-memory logger, we can add a streaming file logger, we can add a console logger. And these extensions, actually I think these are, let's just double check here. I think these are standard, nope, these are actually extension methods that come from this library that I found, MetroLog.
Okay.
So, so yeah, this is MetroLog injecting into the standard logging framework a way to log to its memory, a way to log to files on the device. So it creates a file called a folder called MetroLogs inside of the cache folder, and then it just writes files in there. And I think the files have the names of the days, so it can bleed them after 2 days. And then my default console options.
It's a real coincidence that we were both thinking about logging at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. This was pretty important to getting this working on the actual iPhones, because I don't have a Mac yet. I do have one on order, but yeah, I was doing all of this debugging by running it through the CI/CD build on GitHub. So I've got some GitHub actions that do the CI/CD build, push to test flight, and then I can load it on my phone. It's a long way to go to test something. So logging, very important.
Do you really need a Mac, or can you, for example, also use an Apple tablet?
No, I don't believe you can use an Apple tablet. You can use a Mac Mini. I think that's the least expensive option for doing live debugging in Maui. But even a Mac Mini is starting to get kind of expensive. I think they're over $1,000 now. But it used to be just a few $100s, and you could have a little box that you could just sit on your desk. And Visual Studio can connect to a Mac. So you've got pair with Mac right here. So you just turn on device sharing on that Mac, then hook it up to Visual Studio, and then Visual Studio will just kick off the build on the Mac, and you don't have to open it up.
And a long time ago, I saw something where you can rent a Mac as a cloud service.
Yes, yeah, Mac in Cloud is one of those services. That's the one I've used. Yeah, I actually used Mac in Cloud for a project so that there was a member of the development team that did not have a Mac, and so she was able to use Mac in Cloud during the day to to use Xcode. This was a Swift application, so it's like, hey, we need you to work on the user interface. Let's teach you Swift. Let's get you Mac in Cloud. Up you go. she was like, okay, I got this. But that was not the ideal way to develop. There is a way to use Mac in Cloud with this pairing. At least I've read that there is. I tried to get it working, and did not have any luck with that. But yeah, we got it working just well enough, and then so okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So let me show this thing in action. I happen to have a power mirror here, and so from this, I can screen share my phone. There comes. Hey, there's my phone. So, of course, I've got Jinaga as my wallpaper on the phone. All right, so here's the blog Maui icon. Isn't it pretty?
Mm-hmm.
So when we start up, oh yeah, yeah. For the other surprise, I had to restart the server, so it's warming up on the server side right now. But it should be loading up that yeah, logging in, loading up. There we go. So we've got on the phone connecting to the replicator, and so you know, we can tap, go in there, edit, you know, change the name. Hey. And now it actually updates the list properly. Yay, got that bug fixed. Okay, so I do have a view logs button, or you can shake the phone to view the logs. I put the view logs button on there because the Android emulator, it's supposed to have a keystroke that you can use to simulate shaking the phone, but it wasn't working. So I said, yeah, just put a button on it. But yeah, we've got all the logs that are added to that log stream from the application.
Okay.
But then we also have some things here, the HTTP requests to the auth token endpoint. These logs are coming from the HTTP client itself. So somehow, without even me injecting a logging factory, it's able to hook into it. So I don't know if that's something that that MetroLog set up on my behalf, or if that's some extra work that or some mechanism that we could actually take advantage of and not require them to do anything special in the IOC to set that up. So a little bit of research there.
Okay.
But, yep, got all those logs. And from MetroLog, you can even, I was about to click on it. Yeah, the clicks don't go back. This is just screen sharing. So if I hit share logs, then I can take that log file as a zip archive, and I can just email it to myself or that sort of thing. So there is a little bit of extra capability built in there, just by default.
That's nice. That's very interesting to debug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering, is this showing my name? No, it's not. Okay, still have to fix that one.
But so this one, because you set it up to keep it 2 days, it will store it really to a file, not just into memory.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's using the streaming file logger for that. Yep, and it's also using the console logger, so if you take a look at the output window while it's running, you'll see it streaming there as well. So,
and
yeah,
these logging packages, so yeah, then not this one, but based on the Microsoft logging framework, if we use that during unit testing, will it still work?
You have to do one other thing for that. In fact, there is a page on XUnit that tells you how to do that.
Okay.
But I don't have any unit tests in Blog Maui, but of course, why would I have unit tests in a sample app? That's silly.
would I go
So,
find it?
but like, I think this is where I've injected. Nope. Let's go to the post list view model. I know that one's logging all over the place. So yeah, I inject an iLogger of post list view model, and then the IOC container uses the log factory in order to satisfy that that requirement.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I'm thinking is right here. Yeah, where we do the SQLite client create, we'll have an opt dot log factory equals or something like that.
Okay. Good, but that way we don't have to inject that output parameter from the testing into all the different classes.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think they showed a couple of different ways to do that. One of them is exactly that, where you wrap the output parameter with an iLogger and then you pass that into the classes. But I think they do have another way where you can actually use IOC in order to do that.
Mm-hmm. I will look into that.
Okay.
So, and what was that other surprise?
The other surprise. Well, let's go up to
That the same thing works on Android?
Yeah, well, that is true. The same thing does work on Android.
Yeah, but with
that was for free because it's a cross-platform library that I used.
With authorization and identification on Android.
Oh,
Google.
Wouldn't that be nice? Let's see. Let's go up to Blog Maui. And now the Authenticate page has auth URL Apple. So there we've got our auth Apple endpoint. But let's come down here and authenticate with Google. Yay!
That's very nice.
Yes. And it turned out this was much easier than the authenticate with Apple one. So I've done little piece by piece testing with it, but haven't done a full end-to-end test with it yet. But yeah, I would love for you to give this a run and see if you run into any issues. So we go to our Google Cloud Console, and here I've got Blog Maui up there, and it says, okay, the first thing you need to do is select or create a new project. So yeah, I've already created Blog Maui, or you could go up here and create a project, either one. And let's see if it's going to show any secrets on the screen. So far, no secrets. So we've selected our project. Next, consent screen. We need to configure the auth consent screen. And so we go to auth consent screen, and the first time through, it shows you a big old button that says it says configure consent screen. So if you see that button, click it. Otherwise, you can move on because you've already done this. But there's only one thing that I need to give you for that screen. Everything else is just you uploading your icon and all that stuff. In fact, if we go to edit, yeah, so uploaded the icon, give it a name. Right here, the authorized domains. There, that should be Jinaga.com. So I gave you Jinaga.com that you could copy. And then you hit save and continue, and now set up your OAuth client ID. So this part, I think it will share a secret. So I'm going to well, before we, I'll stop it before it shows the secret. That if I go to credentials, there we go. So you click on credentials, and then you create an application. You select web application, and then you give it the JavaScript origin. That's repdev.jinaga.com, and the redirect URL, which is your Google callback. And then it provides you a client ID and a client secret. So I will go off screen here so I can grab that. Yep, it shows it right here on the screen. Doesn't even mask it. Okay. Client ID, paste that in, and copy the client secret. And this should be masked. Yeah, there it is. It's masked. And boom. Now, let me hit back on this so I can bring this back on screen. And then we set up our callbacks. This is the callback that I have configured for the mobile application. So whenever you authenticate using the web authenticator, once it redirects to that, the mobile app says, okay, I know you've completed it. Let me pick it up from here. And this one is for HTTP YAC. So I can test with that. So I already have those set up because they're the same callbacks that we would use for Apple. So we finish that. And then it does some churn. It is churning, right? We didn't provide any feedback on the churning. Yeah, it was churning. And now we've got the auth URL for Apple and the auth URL for Google. So auth Google, auth Apple.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now we can use it with both systems.
Yep. Yes, indeed. So the next thing I need to do here is the settings. I just have an auth URL singular here. So I'll want to provide auth URL for Apple, auth URL for Google. And then where this is used, right here in, when I did create the authentication settings objects, that is used inside of what will be Jinaga Maui. So I've started adding more stuff to the Jinaga Maui folder. So once this is all baked, I'm going to take that, make it a separate NuGet package. So that's got the OAuth client, authentication provider, all that stuff. And a nice little configure extension to add Jinaga authentication. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that will have both Apple and Google. And in fact, I think I'll figure out some way of making it even more general. So so you can have multiple providers. And then the idea is that when you hit the login button, so let's go back to, this would be in the, where would this be? Authentication, yeah, in the, that's not the gatekeeper view model. Oh, that's right, this is in the frame, the app shell view model, yeah. Yeah, so here's the login command. So the idea will be that rather than just a single authentication service.login, then at this point you'll be able to choose login with Apple, login with Google, login with whatever else. And so you can have not just one login button, but several, one per provider that you've configured.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the plan.
So the application Yes, it can already run now if you change the
Yeah,
authentication
let's do
strings.
that. Let's do
Yeah.
that. So I'm going to take this off screen for a second because I need to edit a file that contains a secret.
Mhm.
So I'm going to change this to auth Google and then close that file. Okay. Now, coming back. So the only thing that I've changed was in settings.local, I changed auth URL. So where it ended with auth Apple, I changed it to auth Google. So that should be the same. But now it should authenticate with Google. Well, let's see if it does. Okay. Starting up the simulator, the emulator, the Google thing. Here it comes.
And why was it so much easier with Google than with Apple? Is it a matter of documentation?
It is that it requires fewer fewer inputs from on your part, fewer steps, and it is just using standards. So so you only need to describe your application, and then it gives you a client ID and a client secret, and then it uses the OAuth 2 um, um, authorization code flow, just straight out of the box. So take any old authorization code flow library and use it. In fact, I wanted minimal dependencies, so I just implemented authorization code flow myself. It's a pretty simple flow, and yeah, and then it just works. So it's easier for the for the end user. It's easier to code against. Um, yeah, uh, yeah. Apple just added some extra steps in there that that maybe do useful things, but from just the perspective of setting up the system and making it work, um, it it seems like it's just extra nice. So now we are at the visitor section. So this is where we get to basically learn about the application. I think about the app being in two separate modes, kind of similar to a website. You land on a website, you're not logged in, you get to browse around, look at stuff. Maybe you can even do a few things, but then go to log in and you're in a different section altogether. So let's see if we can log in with Google. Sign in. This app's request is invalid. Okay. Redirect URI mismatch. Oh, interesting. Okay, yes. This is one that I can fix. And that's because right here, let's go back to configure Google. Next, right here, this redirect URI right here, I didn't have when I first set up the application. So let me copy it. And let me go back here and take this off screen, because once I click here, my secret is shown to the world. And I will paste in that redirect URL, save that, and then we're back on the credentials page. Okay. There we go. So now, bloop. Task was canceled. Okay, well, let's try it again. Zoop. Yay, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, I will use, I think I have to use the old email address, mperry@mallardsoft.com. Does it actually... Have I actually used that password here? I don't know. Okay, and there we go. We don't have any data under this user account right now, but there it is.
That's very nice. And that's exactly what I need.
Yes, I'm not sure why it's yellow. So, well, let's view the logs and see if it's telling us why. Yeah, it got back a 200. It looks like this is the end of the logs here.
Oh, the yellow was the notification from the communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it still should have been green. It should have said, nope, you don't have any data. But I know that you don't have any data. There hasn't been any errors.
No, you don't have any data, but since the last time you synced is longer than a certain period, so you might have data on the server waiting for you.
Well, let's we can actually debug that real quick, because now we are connected because we're using the emulator. So let's go to the this is going to be inside of areas, blog, post list view model. This is where I set up a listener on status changed. So I use the on status changed method here, and this is the last load error is not null. So if I come in here and I refresh, now I get this. Yeah, it said green for a little bit, but it was still in the process of loading. Okay. Forbidden, cannot distribute. Okay, so I have a... Yeah, let me copy
User
that
does not match.
Yeah. Do we already have VS Code? Okay, so these are the errors that I'm getting back from the distributor, or from the replicator. So it cannot distribute to given a site. Give me all the posts. The user does not match. Yeah, so the creator of that site. Okay. I know what happened. The site that I'm starting from, in fact, I can show you. The site that I'm starting from when I run these specifications is this one right here. A new site with this user and this domain. And I'm just power coding michaelperry.net right now. So the problem is that for this user, that site hasn't actually been shared with the replicator. So I didn't do a j.fact to set up this site. And that's because I'm skipping a step right now in this application. I just wanted to get to a place where you can edit the posts. But I need to have one more screen before this where you can set up sites. And then it'll, j.fact create this site for you. And then it will exist. And so the replicator is trying to run this specification right here to find the creator of that site. And since that site doesn't exist, this specification is returning no results. So there is no site, there is no creator of that site, so therefore the user doesn't match. It doesn't find the user in the results. So that's what's happening.
creator for that site, it has to be created because it's one of the root facts.
Yes. Yes. If I were to create that site real quick, then it would work. And in fact, I can do that too. Because we have, let me go back to VS Code and let's open up Blog Maui. Don't need to save that. And in here, I have some HTTP files. So I'm going to go off screen again so that I can edit env local without sharing any secrets. And I'm going to change the authorization endpoint here to Google. And then bring that back. Okay. So now, here we have create posts using auth. So I've got my env local. So I'll set that up with this this HTTP request. And then what this is going to do is use auth2 to load that in. And then it's going to create the blog site with the logged in user as the creator. And call it michaelperry.net. And then create a single post with the title Introduction to Jinaga Replicator. So when I send that, let me make sure I've got a nice browser ready for it. So I send that, and then it does this. And I've got my sign in with Google. Boom, and success. So now we are back to here, and it says HTTP 201 created. So it created the site, the post, and these two titles. So now when I I continue, boom, and I refresh. Now it should find that that site. It should find that I am the creator of that site, and therefore it will allow me to run that specification. And in fact, now that there's a post, it should show me the post. Refresh. And green. And we've got Introduction to Jinaga Replicator. Wow! A demo actually worked on this channel.
Yeah, that's. I think Murphy is on holiday.
Yep, I think so. Very good. Okay.
Good, so that's something I can play with later on.
Yep.
Create my own replicator and then try to get the Blog Maui connected.
Yes. Yes, and I think you will be successful because, I mean, look how easy that was.
We will try it out.
Excellent. Well, that was a whole lot to get through, and I was actually not expecting that we would have time to get through all of that, and yet we got through that pretty quickly. So I think
it's amazing that you finished that in just a couple of days.
Yeah. I've gotten into the holiday mode, and it's like, yeah, I just need to get down there and crank this stuff out. But of course, yeah, also updating the book. Thank you for the recommendations on chapter 2. And
It was only very small things because, and even then, if it is small notations, it might be because English is not my native language. So.
Yeah, but no, they did make sense. Yeah, it was not entirely clear. Um, yeah, I think that
Mm.
subject verb disagreement is real, and the editor of the first edition didn't catch it, so we can go ahead and get that fixed in there. Um, but yeah, then there was something else where I had a picture in my head of an iPad by a door of a conference room, and I
Okay.
don't think I made it clear
Mm.
that that's what I was talking about. And it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
use the screen by the door. What are you talking
Mm.
about? So yeah, just
I I could imagine something, but it was flew in the context.
mm-hmm,
So no, but the content itself is very nice. Um, and I found two areas where there were changes. Because in the summary you just gave me one area,
mm-hmm.
but there was another area also where there was some new text, which was quite useful. Um, it was on, I don't remember, but it's good to go through it again. Um,
Yeah,
so
and
this week I will go through chapter 3.
excellent.
Then I will try this login with Google, and I will start logging if there is some time left. The logging with the Microsoft extensions for the SQLite.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, and on the book front, so um,
Mm.
yeah, I reached out to the Pluralsight authors, asked if there was anybody who wanted to do the tech review,
Mm.
and Sander Mack responded, and so he started up reviewing the book, giving me some really um, excellent suggestions. And so he has a lot of experience with event sourcing, and in fact, he is one of the reviewers um, uh, on the
Book of
data, yeah,
Rick
yeah, designing data intensive applications. Um,
by
I'm blanking on his name all of
what
a
is
sudden.
it?
Yeah, well, I
It
have it right
should
here.
be this one by Martin
Yep,
Klebman.
yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's all.
Yeah, and
Oh, he was yeah.
yeah, we were kind of we were talking on the phone about the project and what the editing or what the technical reviewer would do and all that stuff, and then we were talking about Martin Kleppman, and I was like, yeah, this book is awesome, but it doesn't have anything to do with CRDTs, but yet Martin Kleppman
Mm.
has been doing a lot of work on CRDTs, especially around text editing, um, and um, and so yeah, Sander is really
Mm.
interested in CRDTs as well, and it's like, okay, let's see how we can use CRDTs for building
Mm.
you know, uh, enterprise applications.
Okay, so the match is really there.
Yeah.
But I thought that there was something about CRDTs. It's a long time ago that I read the book of Martin, but um, yeah, I thought there was
Hmm.
something inside, or perhaps he just no. It's anyway. It's not a full chapter. Um,
Yeah.
oh, but that's great news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the way that people have been using CRDTs in applications have been um, let's create one CRDT that lots of people can collaborate on. So like the text
Mm.
document thing, um, or I have found a library that this is really cool. It installs as a Postgres plugin, so it's actually running inside of Postgres, and
Yeah.
then it exposes a couple of tables in order um, to let you interact with it. But it can turn a yeah, a basically a row of a database into a CRDT. Um, so so yeah, it's like when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is getting pretty close to what Jinaga is doing. But but it is at the row level, and it makes some assumptions about like if you've got multiple updates, then
Mm.
then you need to have some sort of application uh, uh, strategy for resolving the conflict, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it becomes a kind of a table with metadata around it, where
Yes.
it creates its own predecessors, its own successors.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't use the predecessor successor idea. Instead, it's a custom built CRDT for a column in a row in a table, um, and then so you do your normal insert and update
mm,
operations, and then those become updates to the CRDT, um, and then it keeps track of all of those updates in a table that then you can pull those updates, send them to a peer, a replica, and then that does an insert into that side table, and then that makes the column come into consistency with your copy.
mm. So it's only one column then.
Yeah, yeah. So it does it
Yeah.
column by column. So so yeah, I think there's still a lot of power um, in the graph because now you've got the relationships among different
Mm.
facts, and you can model business workflows and that kind of thing. Um, but uh, uh, but yeah, this was one of those rare ones. So I've been kind of collecting these things. I've got a list, a
Mm.
document of all these different attempts to do this synchronization thing, and most of them don't get the math right, but this one does. It's actually based on CRDTs. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and I think it's got CR in the title, like CR Postgres or CR-SQL, I think is what it's called.
Mm.
CR-SQL. CR-SQLite. I'm sorry, not Postgres. SQLite.
Ah,
Yeah.
SQLite.
Yeah, CR-SQLite.
Mm-hmm. And what is the practical application of that system?
Yeah. It is literally for occasionally connected clients. So,
Okay.
so they use SQLite so that you could build it into your client app, and
Mm.
then um, you just write the application layer that's going to pull all the updates and then send them up to your server. You're running CR-SQLite on the server as well, and push them
Mm.
in there, and then you push and pull with the. So you have to figure out who's interested in what updates and send them out. Um, and so yeah, you do that by um, setting up some like some additional um, uh, keys within the table. So it's like, okay, this table, each one of these rows is related to this blog, and so these are the collaborators that I've invited to this blog, and so I'm going to select my updates using that key, and then send those updates to those collaborators, and that way um, they get they get a subset of the CRDTs that they're interested in, and that's actually where it's inverted from the Jinaga idea. Um, so in Jinaga, the graph is one CRDT, and you get a subset of the graph based on what you're interested in, which you can then compute from the graph. So it's all built into the model. Um, whereas um, in CR-SQLite, each individual value in the database is its own separate CRDT, and so you have to figure out which CRDTs you're interested in, and then you get all updates for that CRDT.
Okay. And what is the advantage of historical modeling compared to this?
Yeah, the advantages I can think of two right off the bat. One, you can model things that you couldn't otherwise, um, like in the blog example. if I invite somebody to collaborate with me on my blog, so I can create that invitation in the model, and then the distribution rules are based on the model, and so the distribution rule sees the invitation, the authorization rules. So now when they say, all right, I need to make a change, I need to create a new post, they're authorized to do that because there's an invitation in the model. Whereas if you were, if each blog was its own separate CRDT, then you would have to build that system of authorization and distribution on top of that. Couldn't build it into the model. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that because it's built in and you don't need to write that extra layer of code, it's then in that sense easier to use Jinaga. You have to write less code. The thing that makes Jinaga hard is thinking about things all in terms of that graph. So things like SQL or CR-SQLite are closer at hand. They use things that people are already familiar with, and say, okay, I can take that and I can make the inserts and the updates that you're familiar with, and I can make them work. Whereas in Jinaga, it's like, okay, you have to think about the problem completely differently. But once you do, then the runtime can take care of so much more for you.
Jinaga is a new way of thinking, in fact.
Yeah.
Oh, well, with the other system, you stay in your database world.
Yep, and it's still not promising a panacea. It's not promising that you can use your database exactly as you always have, and everything works out well, because the fact is that promise cannot be upheld in a distributed system. So, the promise that a column and a row in the database has one value. And that's something that people just take for granted, but it can't be done. So it says, okay, there are some constraints, there are some ways that you have to work with it, but still it looks like a database, so you can start in the familiar space and then learn those edge cases. But I say, nope, not even going to give you that familiar facade. You just have to learn the new way.
Because that means that his database rows can still have multiple values.
Yes.
So in the end, his user interface will have to deal with it just as we have in Jinaga.
Yeah, and the way that he deals with it is that you create a strategy and you run that strategy somewhere. So typically you'd run it on the server. So when the server notices that the CRDT has gotten into a multi-valued state, then the server says, okay, I'm going to pick one. That's the value. And then it's going to make the change. And then that pushes back to the clients.
Yeah, but there you lose part of your history.
Yep. So I say, nope, I'm not even going to give you that option.
Okay, I will be, you convinced me. I will be there next week as well.
Very good.
No, otherwise I would have said, oh, that's a better solution. Bye, Michael.
Yeah.
No. And how did he get so far that mathematically the thing is working? Is it somebody who also very interested in math and with a good background, or?
I'm not certain. I've not. So this is Matt Wanlaw, and I've not connected with him in the past. I think I actually will reach out to him now. But apparently he is interested in math, because he cites the papers and he goes through the what it takes to make it true. What I found, the way I found this is I was listening to a React Native Radio podcast, and they were talking about Expo, and Expo has brought this library into the into their ecosystem. So so yeah, this library obviously has a lot of low-level components, so you can't just do everything in JavaScript, which is what's really awesome about this library. Is not just, it doesn't matter what your client is, the interface is SQLite. So anything talking to SQLite can talk to this. So yeah, Expo brought it in so that you can create a JavaScript application, and then without running a native build, you'll get this this capability. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me check that out. And I heard the name CR-SQLite, and I said, I know what those two letters mean. Let me see if it's actually doing what I think it's doing. And yep.
Yeah, from CRDTs.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, although the C is not conflict-free, the C is convergent, because there are two styles of CRDT. There's the convergent CRDT and the operational CRDT. So yeah, this is using convergent CRDTs. So it's convergent replicated SQLite.
Good. If there's some time left, I will have a look into that as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's worth a look.
But it's amazing the number of people who are working on synchronization systems.
Yeah.
And so far, not much is really working very well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you, this week I had some trouble with WhatsApp, where in a WhatsApp community, if you send a message to multiple people, it happens that some people get a warning waiting for the message. And actually, it has to do with the encryption keys that don't arrive or are not available. I don't know what exactly is wrong. And they describe the problem on their webpage, and they say you have to do this or that, but nothing is working. So even WhatsApp is not getting this distributed system correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Very few people do get it correct.
So perhaps one day with historical modeling.
Yes. Yes, I think so.
Good.
All right.
We know what to do. We know what to do.
Indeed. Yeah, so now I don't know what I'm building toward for next week. I got it all done. So but I'll have something. It'll be amazing.
You have to go and party today.
Yes, indeed.
Your family is waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, I test it out and we will see each other next week then.
Very good. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.